Relationships are a unique phenomenon among human beings. Some believe that the need to form a lifelong pair is merely a social construct that arose during the transition from hunting and gathering to agriculture. And from nature, we tend to spread our genes as much as possible. The more partners, the more genetic diversity and sperm wars, and thus the stronger the species as a whole. It is always possible to revise the rules, to expand the boundaries, or to play the marriage to ourselves altogether. On the other hand, even with animals, not everything is just about sex. Pregnant females and their offspring need to be cared for, and there is a need for partner support. Someone has to bring food and building materials for the nest. Some species stay together for a short time, and some, like swans, cannot live without each other. As for humans, it is difficult to say for sure whether we have an innate tendency toward polygamy or monogamy. After all, we are biosocial beings. Our desires and needs are a complex conglomerate of evolutionary tasks, natural temperament, emotional traits, cultural attitudes, and personal principles. In practice, monogamy suits some people and makes others unhappy. Only you can choose how you want to build a relationship. Now we'll look at and analyze a few alternatives you can try out. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, and let's get started. And before we move on, a little advertisement from our partner, Bybit. Bybit is not just a platform, it is the best platform for trading, investing and earning on NIP currency. My team and I use the platform daily and recommend it to you. And also, as a bonus, Bybit provides a promotional code of $1,000 for the first 100 people for registration. Link in the description. 1. Polygamy. Polygamy is when a partner has a relationship with more than one person. Polygamous marriages, or polygyny, are practiced in various cultures, such as Muslim and some African societies. Polygamy, polyandry, is less common, but it does exist among national minorities that maintain traditions. For example, Tibetans in Nepal and some tribes in India. Polygamy differs from adultery, in which one of the spouses has another relationship or a secret second family, in that it is open, socially sanctioned, and regulated. A man in a polygamous marriage is expected to care for and be faithful to his wives. Promiscuity is not permitted. The "if I were a sultan" fantasy also has its flip side. Obligation. Many scholars see wealth as a prerequisite for polygamy. As a rule, polygamy is closely linked to certain religious and national traditions of a particular society, so only those who feel connected to a particular tradition should recommend it as a possible form of relationship. We are usually talking about marital relationships. In the secular version, a romantic and sexual relationship with several people would be more like an open marriage or polyamory. It is also important to note that classical polygamy involves an imbalance of options. Someone alone, usually a man, has more rights. He can have several wives, while they are expected to be committed only to their husbands. 2. Polyamory. In modern Western culture, the romantic idea that everyone is meant to have their own soulmate is popular. And serial monogamy, consisting of cycles of falling in love, exclusive relationship, separation, is becoming a way to find that soulmate. In this case, a new love or strong attraction to someone on the side usually means either the collapse of intimacy or a life of lies and suffering. But do you have to break up with your partner if you have romantic feelings for someone else? Polyamory advocates say no. In terms of polyamory, it is perfectly legal to love more than one person. The main condition is transparency, which means the consent and approval of all participants. If a person wants to adhere to the principles of polyamory without turning their behavior into common cheating, they inform their potential partner in advance about this approach. If new variables are added to a previously exclusive relationship, this should also be discussed. A polyamorous relationship involves more than two people, but what kind of relationship they have with each other depends on the particular case. For example, person A may be in a sexual and romantic relationship with persons B and C. In this case, B and C are aware of each other's existence, but there is nothing between them. It is also possible that B and C are also in a relationship, or there may be a separate partner. It is difficult to list all the possible variations. The main principle is the awareness of all participants. 3. Open relationship. This refers to a union between two people who remain a permanent couple, but also allow the possibility of sexual relations with others. Open relationships differ from polyamory in that there is a primary couple who may not share all the details with their other partners. Another possible difference is the attitude towards romantic feelings. Usually, members of a couple do not consider it possible to fall in love with someone else, otherwise such a relationship would already be polyamorous. An open relationship can be established in the beginning, when two people start to meet and discuss things that are important to them. Some people decide to switch to this format after many years of monogamous marriage. It allows these couples to have a new sexual experience without giving up their committed partner or family. At the same time, the two people continue to prioritize their emotional commitment to each other. 4. Friendship with privilege. A somewhat sloppy translation of friendship with benefits describes a situation that could also be called friendship sex. Such relationships simply do not have a romantic component and do not involve starting a family. These people do the same things as regular friends, except they also have sex. The term casual relationship is also sometimes used, but it needs to be understood correctly. In fact, we have a number of obligations to our friends. To support them in difficult situations, to trust them, to be honest. Even if there is a sexual component to the friendship, those things don't go anywhere. However, friends who are lovers do not have the same obligations as couples, and the boundaries in a friendship are usually drawn more strictly. Such relationships are appropriate for those who can separate sex from romantic feelings. However, there is some risk involved. If one of you is more emotional than the other, you may get into trouble. 5. Loneliness or solitude. Loneliness has a bad reputation, and many people consider it their greatest fear. However, suffering loneliness and being alone are not the same thing. Feeling unneeded and unconnected to another person can happen in a marriage or with a series of sexual partners. Being single, on the other hand, gives you a lot of freedom to develop yourself and do exactly what you want. Your personal space, material resources, and time are all yours. If you are comfortable being alone, the only thing that can prevent you from enjoying this state is public opinion. Increasingly, however, sociologists are finding that loneliness is no longer stigmatized. There is even such a phenomenon as sologamy, marriage to oneself. If there is no stamp in the passport, it is possible to organize a ceremony and take vows for oneself, as thousands of people around the world have done. However, it is not at all necessary to make such public appearances. To become a conscious single, it is enough simply to leave the institution to seek and build a new relationship, at least until you change your mind. The bottom line: polygamy, the head of the family, has multiple wives or husbands, depending on gender. Mostly practiced in traditional cultures. Polyamory, more than two people in a romantic and sexual relationship. Open relationship. Anyone in the couple can have sexual relations with someone else with the partner's consent. Friendship with privilege is the same as normal friendship, only with sex. Ideal singleness, or sologamy, is the conscious rejection of romantic and sometimes sexual relationships.